Hello, welcome back. We're here for the coding demo regarding Wormhole Settlement. So I'll just have a quick summary about what we discussed earlier. So we will have to make a swap using the Mayan Swift route. Underneath, we use the Wormhole TypeScript SDK, and that swap will happen from Ethereum to Solana. So first thing we're going to do is that we're going to go to the documentation. I will leave the link below, but you can go under Settlement, get started, and you will get straight away into the tutorial. A few things before we start. So please note that Mayan Swift is currently on mainnet only, so you will need to have fund. For our case, it's you need fund on Ethereum, so you will need to have ETH. But please do not make any testnet transaction because they will fail. A few prerequisites, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to go through it. Those are basic prerequisites for a regular tutorial. Here is the setup project. For time purposes, I will not go over it because again, it's scaffolding that is quite common. You can copy all the terminal command. This is the dependencies that please make sure you install them properly. And the file structure is also very straightforward. We'll basically have two main files that we'll go over it very quickly. Last thing, we do not tell the developer how they want to use and store their private keys, but we do not recommend to use a .env file for security purpose. But if you decide to do that, please make sure you are using a .env file and you put it inside the git ignore so it does not get committed to your GitHub repo. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to go quickly into the file. We have two main files in the structure. We'll have the helper file and the swap file. The helper file is a very simple file. Basically what it does, its role is to get the getSigner function, and it would load your private key when we're going to instantiate. We're going to instantiate it here, but we're going to use it into the swap file. So that would help basically get your private key and sign it. But the file we are interested in is this one. So just for education purposes, I will go over a few methods and functions that we are using here, and they come from the SDK. But I thought it's a good way for you to understand a little bit what's happening under the hood. So here we go. First, you will get the setup. We will have a get chain method here. So send chain, destination chain. When you're going to make your transfer, you will have to use the getChain method. The getChain method passed the chain name as a param, and it returned the chain context. And in the chain context from the SDK, you will get all the information that you need for user, like such as RPC or chain ID and all this kind of thing. So you will need to specify it here as a string and to pass the chain name for that. On the destination address, you will use the Wormhole chain address that will get the destination chain and the chain name. However, here in the demo, in the repo, when you're going to get it, it's going to be a to-do inside a string. The reason we leave it like this, so developers do not forget to change it. This will be basically the address of the public, your public address for the wallet that you're going to receive the fund in. Okay, so it's very important that you replace it here. And so if you do not replace it when you're going to run the script anyway, you're going to have an error message that tell you need to do that. Let's keep going. So here, what we're also explaining here basically is that we have a source chain and we're going to get the token ID. Here in the context of Wormhole, it's quite important to understand what the token ID is. Is a unique identifier that help us to track token across multiple network. It's a sort of a chain agnostic way to track it. And for the simple reason that in interop context, you will be able to, you have different type of asset. You might have native asset, you might have wrapped asset, you might have asset they get minted on the chain and then they get burnt and then minted on another chain. So we need to have a sort of a very uniform way to track that. That is what the token ID is here. So you would actually, the token ID would need to take the chain name plus the token address. However, this is our case today, we are using native asset. This is the reason why you get native inside a string. If you do not use a native asset, you will use the contract address here as a string. You will need to pass it. So that is something you need to make sure you do correctly based on what kind of asset you are swapping. Now, we're going to create a new Wormhole route resolver. And what we want to specify in here is the Mayan Swift route, because this is the route we want to use for that specific example. You will have the list of supported destination token. This is something you can console log it, but please make sure that if you are using certain token that you are not sure if they are supported or not, have a look here. You just can console log it. Then we're gonna use the get signer to pull the private keys. And here is basically where we're gonna create the transfer request. The transfer request will start, it's the beginning basically of the flow of the intent. So we're gonna make a request, and then the resolver will get the best route. Out of this best route, once it has found it, we're gonna specify the amount in the params. Please note that in the transfer param here, the amount is mandatory, and the option here, this is a param that is optional. So the amount is a string. I have tried the tutorial with 0.001 and it failed. So let's assume this is a minimum amount. So in the option, the best get default option, I can show you what it returns. But basically, if you want to customize it here, it's a good method to understand. So I will just quickly show you here. Default would return this kind of param. You have the gas drop, the slippage, and the optimize for. Optimize for here is speed, but you can optimize for cost as well. So this is something to keep in mind if you want to have here you're choosing the get default option, which we believe is the most efficient and appropriate for our tutorial. But if you want to tweak this is something you can also look into. Then we validate the queries. So we will take the transfer request and the param that we just declared earlier. And once we have validated the route, we'll get the quote. The quote is, you remember in the flow, the solver would actually get the request, and the solver that decide to take your request on will give you a quote. So basically it will give you the best estimation for speed and cost and so on. And this is where you get the quote. Once this is it, we're gonna initiate the transfer, and then we're gonna check it and complete it. So when you initiate the transfer, you will have the transfer request, the sender signer, the quote, and the destination address. Then you will get the receipt once it's completed. So let's have a look how we're going to do this. You're going to have to run the script. It's at the step 3. So this is the command for the script. And we're just going to use it here. Here we go. We initiate the transfer, so you can have a look at the output in the terminal. That should match basically what you're doing in the code, of course. You can have a look at different entries here. While we do that, just on the customize the integration, as I mentioned, you can get different supported tokens, so you do not necessarily need to use native assets. And of course, you can change the chain and the destination. And again, if you want transfer setting, you can update the amounts, but also the wrap parameter, as I show you. And so it has now been finalized. We're going to have a look in the wallet. So I'm using this wallet here. Let's see on the last transaction. So I believe it's just here. It was a couple of seconds ago. And yes, so this is the amount of SOL I received. And the swap is completed from Ethereum to Solana. So thank you very much for watching. All the link will be below. Please don't hesitate if you have any question.